So today is going to be about a new product that we've launched here at StayFi called StayFi Express. And I'm going to dive into what this is, what businesses it's relevant for, and essentially the idea behind StayFi Express is we're going to be able to turn your existing Wi-Fi networks into StayFi networks. So instead of having to purchase the old Ubiquiti Unify devices that we've been selling, there are now some scenarios where you can use your existing Wi-Fi equipment, and I'll go through what those are. So agenda for today is first, we're going to be discussing kind of the overview of StayFi Express, how it works, and then go through compatibility. So like I mentioned before, StayFi Express only works right now with certain devices, and we'll talk about which ones those are. And then we'll go through benefits, why you do want to use StayFi Express over the other Wi-Fi equipment that we sell here at StayFi, and then just a little more details about how this fits into your account overall. So just a little bit more on StayFi Express. It allows you to start collecting guest data without changing your Wi-Fi setup. So as you may know, if you use StayFi today, or you've used it for some time, or you're thinking about it, right now to use StayFi, you purchase a device called a Unify access point from us. This will plug into your existing router and it broadcasts a new Wi-Fi network in your listings. So your old network can still run, whether it's from a Spectrum device or any other device. And then you can keep old devices or other things in your home on the existing Wi-Fi, and the Unify device that you install will broadcast a new Wi-Fi network that guests join in order to get access to the internet, and for which, when they join for the first time, they're going to, of course, get the captive portal where we collect their information. What StayFi Express will do is actually turn the current Wi-Fi network that you're telling guests to join into a network with a captive portal. So let's say you have Amazon eero set up in a property, and that's what you're using today to broadcast Wi-Fi in a home. When a guest joins the existing network broadcast by Amazon eero, they will get the captive portal that you set up in StayFi, and then you can proceed to let guests know to join your existing internet with its existing password, and now we just add a captive portal to the process. So StayFi Express is a piece of hardware that then plugs into your existing Wi-Fi system to turn your existing Wi-Fi networks into one with a captive portal. So when you're using StayFi Express, kind of what features can you use within the StayFi ecosystem? You of course have access to splash pages and home pages, which are the pages or landing pages I guess are taken to after they connect to the Wi-Fi. So a place where you can display things like your guidebook, upsells, other information about your brand, all of that stays the same. Of course, we'll collect data and verify that data from every guest joining the Wi-Fi. So we'll collect their name, email, and then if you'd like to do text marketing, we'll also collect their phone number as well as their opt-in for marketing, which is very important. You'll have access to the homepage, those upsells. And then, of course, once we collect this data, you'll have access to our email marketing tool and SMS automations tool. So essentially everything that you can do, almost everything that you can do with your current StayFi equipment, if you're using Unify, you can also do with Express. The main difference is that instead of getting a new Wi-Fi network for guests to log into, they'll be using the existing one with the captive portal. So the way that it works in practice, so let's say you have one of the compatible devices, which I'll get to in a minute. How would this setup process be different? First, you would go to our store on the StayFi website. So now when you go to stayfi.com and go to our store, as well as go to the store through your account, you notice there is now a fourth type of device or fifth type of device to purchase called StayFi Express. Each one of these is $89. And then when you purchase it, we'll send you obviously all the equipment you need. This StayFi Express will plug into your existing router or mesh router system. So let's say you have an Amazon eero, which is one of the most common ones that we work with right now. You'll plug StayFi Express into your main Amazon eero hub. Then in order to configure your Amazon eero device, when you get the StayFi Express, it will include a QR code and a meeting link to schedule time with our team. There is a self-service process being rolled out to kind of configure, let's say, your Amazon eero to work with StayFi Express. But since this is a relatively new product, we're just making sure each person that sets up Express meets with one of our team members during one of the booking windows, just to make sure that you're getting it working with your current Wi-Fi uh, equipment without any issues, right? So we definitely want to have like call with you to make sure it's set up properly. Then, just like you do today, you will assign each StayFi Express to the property in StayFi where it's located. That's how you can be sure that guests that are logging into the Wi-Fi there are getting the correct splash page and homepage for that specific property. Once that's set up, you'll start collecting guest data, and you don't need to change anything about your Wi-Fi instructions since now guests are continuing to join the same existing Wi-Fi network they've always been joining. So that is a little bit different. So if you've ordered Unify equipment from us in the past, you know that now you have new Wi-Fi instructions, and those Wi-Fi instructions are the same in every home. If you set up Express with your eero or your TP-Link Deco, you'll use the same Wi-Fi instructions you've always been using. So that is something to note if you have some homes with Unify and some homes with Express. With the Unify equipment from StayFi, by default, it will be the same instructions in all of those homes. With those as Express, you're going to be using a different set of instructions that are going to be whatever is there today. So when it comes to compatibility, is StayFi Express right for you? We've launched StayFi Express compatible with 4 types of hardware that are pretty common. Of course, we will be adding additional hardware in the future, and we'll announce those in our newsletter. So these are just the 4 systems that we're starting with, and they are Amazon eero. So if you've ordered any Amazon eero equipment, and I'll show pictures on the next slide, it's very common mesh equipment for homes. That will work. All TP-Link routers, but the most common mesh system we see in homes is called TP-Link Deco, competitor to Amazon eero, also very common. TP-Link also has a line of hardware called Omada. That's more a competitor of Ubiquiti Unify, so typically installed in a commercial or enterprise application. So this will work with that as well. And there is also one more enterprise system, which would be Aruba Wi-Fi that StayFi Express will work with as well. So if you don't have one of these systems and you want to see if it might be compatible, you can, of course, email our support team. But for now, these are the 4 main systems that StayFi Express will work with. The other thing to note is that for Amazon eero, TP-Link Deco, for all of these systems, you need to have access to the typically app that is controlling, let's say, the Amazon eero. So that it is one thing to note if you have Amazon eeros and TP-Link Decos in homes, and you are a property manager, and maybe only the homeowner has access to the Amazon eero app that controls that particular device, you will need to get access to that because we do in the call to set up your Amazon eero do need to configure one thing in the Amazon eero settings. So you do need access to whatever app is controlling the eero or TP-Link Deco system, for instance, in the properties. Omada and Aruba are a little different because those are typically enterprise systems that are installed in a multifamily building or in like a larger hospitality type venue like a motel or a hotel. Here are pictures of what these systems look like. So eero and TP-Link Deco are definitely the most common in vacation rentals. There's a few variants and models, but this is what typically they look like. It doesn't matter how many eeros or TP-Link Decos are in the property in terms of like number of mesh repeaters. So you could have 2 eeros, 3 eeros, 5 eeros. You only need one StayFi Express for all of those eeros in that one home. So the Express will plug into the main eero and the main TP-Link router. One other thing just to note is if you're interested in, let's say, the eero only has one Ethernet port or like spare port to plug things in. So that's the port that StayFi Express needs to plug into. So it has to plug in via the Ethernet cable that we send. And of course, the StayFi Express also needs access to power. If your eero, let's say you have another type of device like a camera controller or a door lock controller that's plugged into the eero, you will need to buy like a very cheap switch on Amazon, which will basically allow you to have like 4 or 5 ports, and that way the StayFi Express can be plugged in as well. So just one thing to think about is, do any of my Amazon eeros or TP-Link Decos have a spare Ethernet port, as you will need one to plug the StayFi Express device into, as well as access to power. And then, of course, also access to the app that's used to configure the eero and Deco and those types of systems. So if you don't have eero, Deco, Omada, or Aruba, you of course can continue to use our StayFi Unifi access points to broadcast the guest Wi-Fi in those properties. And of course, if you already have Unifi devices, we can configure those with StayFi as well. So either way works. The Unifi devices, they range from $99 to $200, depending on which device model that you purchase. And then, of course, the Express device is $89. So Express is definitely a more affordable and cost-effective option if you do have one of the compatible mesh systems already. And definitely would recommend if you do have Deco or eeros going with StayFi Express, as you'll keep all the instructions the same. The one nice thing about Ubiquiti Unify, however, is that if you have many properties with many confusing sets of Wi-Fi instructions, if you install this across all those homes, you will now have one very clean set of Wi-Fi instructions that are true for all properties. Your StayFi account can, of course, have a mix of both Unify and Express devices. So let's say you have five, 2-bedroom condos that just have a traditional router. You can, of course, get the $99 Unify model for those properties. And then you have some large homes that have, let's say, an eero or a Deco. You can get Express for those, and they can all live in one StayFi account. So you can have both Unify and Express in one StayFi account and use all of these systems together. So one thing that we have seen so far is, let's say you have, especially more the Omada and Aruba units that are covering like a 50-unit hotel, 100-unit hotel. You can use StayFi Express Enterprise with that. So we do have a slightly more robust StayFi Express system that's for very, very large properties that are using one of those enterprise Wi-Fi systems that I mentioned. So if you do manage a very large property, like a hotel, resort, motel, just giant multifamily building, where you have enterprise Wi-Fi installed throughout the entire building, so essentially one network for that whole building, whether that's using Unify equipment or Aruba equipment, we can work with it. Just depends on the scenario. So if you do have a scenario where it's not just a single family home with some Amazon eeros, but this much more complicated environment with many, many units, you can just always email us at sales@stayfi.com, and we can direct you to the appropriate solution for your hospitality situation. Uh, I've seen all sorts of things, whether it could even not be hospitality, it could be restaurants, things like that. Express can work in all sorts of scenarios like that. So here are just kind of like the key benefits again to reiterate, like why you should use StayFi Express. Obviously, it starts with if you have compatible equipment, this will be the fastest and easiest way to transform your existing network into one with a captive portal, where you're going to collect a lot more guest information and be able to use all of our marketing tools to market to those guests in a more cost-effective way, since we're only going to be purchasing one StayFi Express to cover the entire property that's using an eero or a Deco today. So we're going to collect data from everyone there. What's nice is you don't have to worry about setting up a new mesh system because you already have one in place that hopefully is working very well. So you just install StayFi Express, and suddenly the whole Wi-Fi network will have the captive portal. And that means you don't need to install multiple access points to get Wi-Fi in the entire property. And then, of course, it's the most affordable way to launch Wi-Fi marketing, since if you already have one of those compatible mesh systems, you can get StayFi Express. Now, I have seen some people ask, for instance, maybe they don't want to set up Unify in a large property. They want to set up Amazon eeros. So, of course, you can purchase Amazon eeros, TP-Link Decos from Amazon or from another third party, and then purchase an Express for us and set up a new property that way. So I have seen some people that didn't want to go down the Unify route because they're more, they're more familiar with Amazon eeros, for instance. So you can, of course, buy Amazon eeros for new property setups, get an Express from us, and set up the entire system that way as well. And if you're not familiar with kind of how the StayFi Wi-Fi process works or what adding StayFi Express will do, here's just a little more details on how the actual whole system works. So when we add StayFi Express to your existing setup, now your, let's say, Amazon eero network will have a captive portal. And what that means is that a guest, when they join the network for the first time, will be prompted with the same password. Once they enter that password, the splash page will automatically load on their device, which you can see example here. This is where you collect data and get the guest's opt-in. Every guest on every device must go through the splash page one time. Once they go through the splash page one time, that device is authorized for 30 days. So if a guest does bring multiple devices, like a laptop and a phone and an iPad for their kids, they will need to log in once on each device. When they log in that first time, they will then get taken to a page called the home page, which you can again see here. This is a page with all your essential links. I saw a question about TouchStay, for instance. This is where you could, for instance, link to a TouchStay guidebook. We will have a link to book this property again, visit your website, as well as we have multiple upsell partners, things like the HostCo and Viator. You can also link to amenities, tours, and activities. And so every guest, when they log in, will get taken to this homepage, which will have all this information for them during the course of their stay. It's also important to note that while you may have been corresponding with the booker, this is really the first touch point that all the non-booking guests will have at the property. So the 6, 7, 8 other people there will now have easy access to your guidebook and will learn more about your brand. They probably think they're staying on Airbnb, right? So this will be an introduction not only to your brand, but will provide them all the essential information they need. Then once you've collected their information, there are a ton of email and text marketing tools within StayFi that you can deploy. One nice thing about email and SMS is that we have lots of automations that you can take advantage of in the platform very quickly. So as an example, when the guest logs in, you can then trigger them an email and or a text message right away after logging in, where you then will send them a welcome email. And we have some great pre-designed welcome emails in our email tool to welcome them to the property. And again, we fill in a bunch of merge fields for you. So you can, again, let's say link to a guidebook in that welcome email, and it will automatically fill in the correct guidebook for every property that you have in StayFi. So we take care of all those tricky merge fields for you so that all the relevant information is being sent to the guests right after login. And then, of course, they'll remember your brand, and you can even do offers and things like that to give them a discount to rebook for their next stay directly, which obviously is the ultimate goal of StayFi. Is we want to make sure that all of the guests coming through the property, whether the booker, non-booker, they're learning about the brand during the course of the stay through multiple touch points, and then, of course, rebooking when they want to come back to that destination directly in the future. And Express will enable that for these eero and Deco systems in a very seamless way, since they will just continue to use the Wi-Fi network as is, and we don't need to install the new Wi-Fi network with Unify equipment in those situations. So we've been piloting StayFi Express for quite some time. So we launched it last month publicly, but of course we've been using it with customers that let us know they have compatible equipment for some time. Holdfast Holdings, they were very excited to test Express with their eero and Deco devices. And of course, they noticed right away they were collecting 10 times more emails on a weekly basis than they were before when they weren't using a captive portal system in these homes. And of course, often those homes with eeros and decos are very large just by the nature of why you would have had a mesh system set up already. So there's a lot of guests in the property that we want to collect data from. Also, they really enjoyed the fact that now all of those guests are being taken to the homepage and then being sent the homepage again via text and email. So that way the non-booking guests have easy access to the guidebook, other information out of the property right on their phone after logging into the Wi-Fi at the property, which typically happens on the first day. So now, yep, so if you're interested in purchasing Express, like I mentioned, it's available right here. I'm not sure why my account is in British pounds. Here, let me change that right now. Like I said before, it's $89. You purchase it through our StayFi store. And then down below, you'll see more details about the types of equipment that it's compatible with. So TP-Link Archer, that's just one more of their kind of commercial brands, typically for homes. So like I said, it's not just Deco. If you have an Archer, it will work as well. Once you purchase the device, you will receive instructions about how to book time with us. Because like I mentioned before, for now, we want to book time with each person, setting up the StayFi Express with their Wi-Fi systems just to make sure that it's working. So I see someone keeps raising their hand. If you have a question or comment, you can enter it into the Q&A section of Zoom. That would just be really super helpful so that we can answer your questions and let people know. Yep. And this webinar was recorded, so of course it will also be published to our YouTube channel where you can find all of our webinars. And then you can watch this back if you have any questions. And now I'll be happy to go through some of the questions. Yes, so it will be recorded. Someone asked, does this interfere with any other devices like locks, noise monitoring ring devices? Since all those devices are already on your network, they remain connected. So this will only add a captive portal for new guest devices attempting to connect. So one thing that we have with StayFi is we have a system where actually things that we would not anticipate needing a captive portal do not receive the captive portal. So things that can't handle a splash page do not get splash pages, and then guest devices that can handle splash pages do. So for instance, if a guest brings a gaming console, they will not get the splash page on the gaming console because it's not a device that can handle a splash page. Similar thing with like a baby monitor. They still, when they join the Wi-Fi network in this case, they will still have to enter the password that you've set up on, let's say, your eero or your Deco. They just don't get the splash page, and that's true for all devices, whether they're ones you've already have there or ones that guests bring that don't do captive portals or don't have a screen, for instance. So all the devices on your existing network will stay as is. Will not change anything about how those are being done. Only new guest devices, when they come to the home, will get the splash page. Someone asks, do they have best practices regarding for those of us with TouchStay guidebooks? And this would apply to any digital guidebook for a property. We definitely recommend that within StayFi, when you set up your properties, you can associate guidebooks with those properties. Definitely go ahead and do that, since you can then have them on the homepage, so the place that guests are taken to after they log into the Wi-Fi. And then you can also trigger, when you trigger a welcome email that comes through our software, through our email software, that can include a link to a guidebook. And that guidebook link is obviously determined by which guidebook you've associated with that property, as well as in a welcome text message. And that way you can text and email your, let's say, TouchStay guidebook, in this case, to every guest in the property right when they log into the Wi-Fi, which is a great way to get that information in front of the non-booking guests who you probably did not send it to before. Someone asked, does the StayFi Express need to plug into the main eero or the satellite? It can be plugged into the satellite, but the best performance is always done when it's with the main eero. So definitely try to plug StayFi Express into the primary eero. That's one that's probably connected to your current router/modem from your ISP. Someone asks, are there different access instructions for guests with StayFi Express and UniFi equipment? Yes. The differences for StayFi Express, the Wi-Fi instructions are the same as before. So however you set up your eero or your Deco, same network name password. Obviously, you'd want to let your guests know they will also fill out a captive portal. For the UniFi system, you set up a new network name and password or optional password within the StayFi system, and that's the network that you then tell guests to join. Someone asked if they can extend a UniFi mesh with other devices. The answer is no. So UniFi can only mesh with UniFi. So if you're looking to expand a UniFi network via mesh, you have to have other UniFi devices connected to it via mesh. Just like how an Amazon eero is not going to mesh with a Deco, right? These systems for meshing are typically not interoperable. So UniFi meshes with UniFi, eeros mesh with eeros, etc. Someone else says, do we need an eero for StayFi Express? You need one of the compatible hardware lines, which are these here. So eero, TP-Link Deco, or TP-Link Archer, TP-Link Omada, or Aruba. So these are the ones for now that are compatible with StayFi Express. In the future, there probably will be more, and we'll announce those as we go. Someone asks, can you set up a QR code that automatically connects them to the eero network, but then surfaces a splash page directly after, eliminating the need to enter the password? Yes, you can do that. So there are ways to set up like Wi-Fi specific QR codes that both have the network name and password. and that your phone, typically phone is what you're going to scan a QR code with, and you can't do it with a laptop, or that would be very challenging. Your phone knows to like enter that into the Wi-Fi information, both the name and password, and then they will get the splash page. So you can Google like Wi-Fi QR codes, and you'll see there's lots of free tools to generate QR codes with Wi-Fi instructions that are embedded, which can also include passwords, and then they will get the splash page. But you can, of course, email support@stayfi.com to get that. Someone asked where to order it. You can order it through our store. And if you need to know how to get to our store, I will show you right now. You go to stayfi.com, you go to hardware. We actually now have a hardware for StayFi Express. You can also go to pricing here. So I'll actually go to pricing because this will have all the different devices we saw. If you scroll down, you'll see we have the 5 different device types. And if you go to Express or any of those links, it will take you to our store. There's also the link to a store in your StayFi account. This is a note for all of these devices. You need to create a StayFi account before we can ship them because we ship the devices in your account. So if you don't have an account, we will email you and ask you to make one. And if you purchase a device, just because we need to put the device in your account before we ship it. Someone asked, is StayFi Express available in the UK? Yes. So we will ship the device to the UK, to Australia, to Europe, to Canada, pretty much any country in the world at this point we've enabled. There are, of course, different tariffs and fees associated with shipping it to different countries. And so we actually, in our store, we will calculate what all of those are. So all of our devices are sent like with all the tariffs and duties prepaid. So you don't have to deal with, whoever receives the device on your end and have to pay extra taxes and fees that are a surprise. We include that all in the shipping. And then we will also send you the compatible electrical cord that you need in the country that you're located in separately. So if you're in the UK, you'll order StayFi Express, and then we will separately just order for you the correct power cord that will be sent to you separately so that you can plug it into a UK compatible outlet. Someone asked about Honduras. I don't think we have that enabled right now, but I can go ahead and make sure we enable Honduras, and then it should be able to ship there. Of course, sometimes shipping this, depending on the country, can be relatively expensive, but it will let you know when you go through the checkout, as well as Mexico. Yes, I believe Mexico is enabled. I will go double check. I can go enable Honduras today, but yes, we are, and just so you know, we only do that for Express. We don't ship the unified devices to other countries just because you can purchase those locally, typically for much less than the cost of shipping it from the United States. And so if you want to purchase a unified device outside of the US or Canada, we do ship to Canada, best to contact sales@stayfi.com, and we will direct you to a local Unify supplier that will be more affordable to purchase from in your local area. But obviously, since StayFi Express is a proprietary product, we have to ship it from the US, and so we ship it anywhere that you need it. Any more questions? Those have all been fantastic questions so far. Awesome. Well, everyone, thank you again for joining. If you missed any part of this and would like to rewatch it, you can, of course, go to our YouTube channel. So just search StayFi in YouTube, and you will find not only this, but all the webinars that we've done, which cover all aspects of StayFi, email marketing, text marketing, home pages, anything you'd want to know about setting up StayFi and getting all the value you can out of it. We, of course, will have more mastery sessions in the future. This one was just a little different. It was more product-specific demo about StayFi Express. Of course, if you have questions about purchasing StayFi or want to learn more about the system, if you go to our demo page, you can book a demo with our team through these links here if you want to learn more. As well as you can go ahead on stayfi.com and go to get started as well to get started and create your StayFi account. And then if you have questions about what you need, you can also email sales@stayfi.com, and they will also let you know if you have questions about, size of property, what equipment you need, all of that. Our team will be more than happy to help you so that you can start collecting more data and boost your marketing to your guests so you can drive not only more ancillary revenue from each stay, but of course, more direct bookings overall, which is, of course, the ultimate objective of StayFi to reduce your reliance on third party OTAs, which I know we all want to do. So, thanks again for joining and look forward to hearing from anyone that has questions. Thanks again.